I grew up in that environment where it felt like we didn't have enough. It felt like we lacked so much. That place nearly sucked my soul out of my body just because there is so much required of you. I really did feel like you have to be a good representation of black people, because some of these people are probably looking at you like, what's she doing here? How is it that I can go on stages and talk in front of hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people, but then in my own home, when I'm trying to have a conversation with my husband, I'm finding it difficult? Why?
Welcome to Conversation with Haych, and we have an amazing, a superb, supreme, incredible guest with us today. The incredible award-winning content creator who has worked with Coca-Cola, YouTube, the BBC, Amazon, and more. A businesswoman who's the founder of NT Media?
NT Media.
NT Media, social media management and branding agency, and the Power Class, helping women reclaim their power. The host, the presenter, the speaker, the Cambridge graduate. Some of you know her from Backchat in London. Some of you know her from her Insta Lives, where she's inspiring us to get off our couches and do our thing. She's the amazing event host. She loves to host family gatherings as well, as she's already told us. She's a child of God, a wife to the amazing Ben, the world-changing pioneer.
Wow.
The superb Nissy Tee.
Yeah, you can. I mean, Nissy Tee is like my AKA Nissy Tee, AKA Nissy Mundeke. That was probably like the best intro I've ever had. Nah, you touched on every single thing.
Yeah.
Even talking about how I love host, I really do. I enjoy hosting people at our house. We literally just had actually some friends over on the weekend. Not the past, the one that just passed. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was such a dope intro. I'm like, is that me?
You told me to come with the energy.
No, I know you did. You did. I really thought, but I thought it wasn't going to be that though.
Oh, you thought it was going to be hi, we're here with Nissy Tee. No, we don't.
That was sick, man.
We don't play that on here.
No, I love it. Thank you so much.
I'm giving you flowers before we even ask you any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was, listening to that, I'm like, wow, Nissy,
you've done a
you're
lot.
quite amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
I should have thrown KFC in there as well.
Oh yeah, we worked with KFC, did a campaign with them, which was wicked.
So for those who don't know who you are,
yes,
who is Nissy Tee?
Oh gosh, I feel like you've pretty much given like my whole life, but no, I'm just playing. I am a wife to an amazing husband. Obviously, you mentioned him. His name's Ben. I am a daughter. I am a woman of faith. So as you said, a child of God. I, love Jesus. He is the center and the foundation of everything that I do. I'm very, very passionate about women. I know that that's what I'm assigned to. That's what I believe my purpose is, to remind women of who we are and for us to be bold enough and confident enough to live out our full potential in the world.
Yeah, that's good.
Honestly, that's like my top assignment. I am a businesswoman. I love business. I love working for myself. I love knowing that I am not just myself, but alongside my husband, we're building something that will outlive us, that will outlive when we go, that our children's children will be able to know that, hey, my great grandparents, paved the way for us to be able to do whatever we want to do. I'm someone that doesn't believe in limits. I don't believe in limits. As long as I am breathing and living on this earth, I want to do everything and anything that I want to do. So if I decide that I'm going to be a rapper one day, I will add that onto my list of things as well.
We're looking out for the EP.
Don't worry, the EP will drop. If one day I wake up and I'm like, babe, I want to do music, like, why the hell not? Can't sing, can't rap, but auto-tune, we'll figure it out. But no, that's me. I am all round just a creative, someone that loves people and loves encouraging people. I really do think that we need more of it in the world that we're in right now. There's a lot of just bitterness, anger, frustration. And I think a lot of it is just from hurt and trauma. And I just want to be a light, literally be a light and encourage people. Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
What was early family life like, growing up with your sisters, and what you have sometimes or have described in the past as kind of like a strict household?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I grew up in I literally call it a dictatorship. That's what I basically call it. I am first generation Western born. So my parents were both born in Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They grew up there for a lot of their early life and then moved over, as many, migrants did, in search of a better life, hope, future, etc. So they came to the UK in the 90s, in their late 20s, had myself, and then went on to have my other siblings as well. My dad was, bless him, and you know, I absolutely love my parents, but I think that my dad was just very, very protective. He had a house full of girls, so all girls.
Yeah.
And so I kind of get it, you know, the one thing that they probably were worried about, you know, you coming back pregnant or doing something mad. But my dad was really strict. Like when I say strict, like he used to give me like anxiety. It wasn't, I feel like there was a lot of stuff that I had to deal with in therapy. Just saying. But he was really strict. What he said goes. You don't talk back. You don't have a say. You just listen to what he says and get it done. So it was hard. I'm not going to lie. I think growing up, it was really hard because you're with your friends, and I grew up in East London. So a lot of people, unfortunately, didn't grow up with their dads in the house. It was a very like single parent environment. You know, a lot of people getting pregnant quite young as well. That was just the environment that I grew up in. But you're listening to other people and they're more free. Like they're going out to like raves at, you know, 16, like under 18 raves or whatever it is. And I was never allowed. And though I knew God, I still wanted to go to the raves. If I'm being honest with you, I still wanted to go out and have fun. And that was not even a thing. Like my parents were like, absolutely not. So it was just hard for me I felt like there was always someone on my back constantly. I felt like I had to be perfect a lot of the time, especially because I'm the eldest as well. So I was always told like, you need to get it right, because if you don't, you're not setting the right example. You're going to ruin it for the rest of your siblings. So it was a lot of pressure. But what that did mean is that I was very academic. I became a bookworm because I wasn't allowed to go out. After school, it was like, all right, school finishes at 3:10. You need to be home by 3:45 because it takes you X amount of time to get onto the bus, to walk, and to do what you need to do. So, you know, it meant that I couldn't really do much other than be very academic, studious, reading, etc. But it was tough. I'm not gonna lie. When I was younger, it was really hard. I didn't get on with my dad very well when I was younger.
What do you feel you experienced being an eldest sibling that your other sisters didn't?
Oh my gosh. Everything. I talk about it all the time now. I'm always like the parents, and I don't know if you've seen like a lot of people talking about this even on like Twitter and Instagram. People will be talking about like the parents that the oldest child has is a completely different parent to like the younger siblings, because obviously the parents as well, they're learning, they're trying to navigate. And bless my parents, like I said, I can't even say anything negative about my parents, because they tried the best with what they had. They're coming to a country where they didn't speak the language. They're trying to learn the language, learn the culture, understand the people. They're then experiencing racism, because unfortunately my parents like had experiences where they were told like, go back to your country, you don't belong here, why are you here, you're stealing our jobs. They're just trying to create a life for themselves. So they're dealing with racism. They're dealing with all of this trauma from having to go through whatever they went through back home and then coming to a whole different culture. They're dealing with the pressure of the people that they've left behind back home, expecting, because they think that they've come to the West and now it's a land paved with gold. And so now they're expecting to send them X amount of money all the time when they're just about scraping by. So they're dealing with all of that. So I get it. But the parents that I had were so strict. They didn't talk to us. Like it was like, I didn't have that like relationship where, I can be honest with but as I got older, yes, but I didn't have that relationship. Now my siblings can like talk to my parents. They're a lot softer. They're a lot more understanding. With me, everything was no. It was literally like, I think I barely got yeses growing up. Everything was no. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't go out here. You can't do, no, you've got to be back by this time. You can't. It was very restrictive. Whereas my sister, for example, the other day, my sister told me she went for a sleepover.
And you was that?
Sleepover where? Where was the opportunity for me to go and have a sleepover? My parents literally like said I was crazy for even suggesting to go over and sleep over. Whereas my sister was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and sleep over at my friend's house. I'm like, but you're like 13. How are you sleeping over? Whereas me, it wasn't that. So definitely got two different parents. Yeah, different set of parents.
You've spoken about in the past, like, even though your household was strict, your father was a dreamer. Do you feel like him being a dreamer and him being then so strict on you guys is him not wanting your dreams to be shattered or you guys to be broken in terms of like what he potentially had?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because obviously, again, he's still an African dad, and while we've you know, thank God we've built such a great relationship now, but to say that we've had like really in-depth, deep conversations would be a lie. Like, you know, and one thing about me is I'm super transparent and super open, but I think that it was more so because he was scared. I think he was scared that we wouldn't achieve, or at least let me speak for myself, that I wouldn't achieve my greatest potential. I'll give you an example. There was this one day where I told like my dad, like, this was when I started to now think about presenting and all of that kind of stuff. And, oh, I actually like being in front of the camera, maybe something that I could do. And one day I told him, like, I got the courage to like sit my parents down and basically be like, so, and I even called it broadcast journalism. I didn't call it presenting. I didn't say, oh, I want to be a presenter. I said broadcast journalism because it sounded a bit more official, you know? So I sat them down and my mum was like, oh, great. Like, whatever you want to do, go for it. My mum has been my biggest supporter. I mean, she even bought me my first ever camera for me to start my YouTube channel. Like, honestly, my mum has been my biggest support. Whereas my dad's reaction was kind of more like, why would you want to do that? Go and do something that will actually pay. Like, you know, there's no money in that. What do you think you're going to achieve with that? But the thing is, I don't think he said it from a place of, I want to crush your dreams. I just think that because of everything that he went through,
He's trying to protect you.
he was trying to protect me in a really weird...
That was his way.
Yeah, that was his way of, again, this is all stuff I had to understand as I grew older. At the time, I just felt like, you're trying to crush my dreams, you don't believe in me, etc. But now I kind of look back with retrospect and I'm like, do you know what? I think he was just trying to protect me. He just didn't want me to get hurt or be in a place where even financially, I don't have just financial stability. Because in our family, unfortunately, you know, I grew up in a very working class family. I grew up in an environment where we lacked quite a lot. We didn't really have much. Again, I noticed it more and more the older I got. When I'm asking like for money and stuff and parents are not able to give it, I'm kind of like, something isn't quite right here. Like, something is missing. So I think it was also the financial. He just wanted me to graduate, get a job, settle in my career, have, you know, maybe like a 6-figure paying career, and that I'll be set up for life. And then I decided to go and be the creative and be like, don't want to do that. But I just think he was trying to protect me. Yeah.
Do you still feel the pressure as the older sibling now? Do you still feel that weight? Do you still feel like a lot of things are still determined by how you move and what you do? Because obviously we've talked about this was back in the day. But now you're older, married, your own space and all these kind of things. Do you still feel that pressure?
I do.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it will ever go away. But I now think that is kind of like self-imposed pressure. Whereas before it was my parents had put that pressure on me that you're the oldest child, you need to get things right. I think now it's more self-imposed. Like, I never want my sisters to lack anything. I am so big on, like, if you need anything, let me know, whether it be money, whether it be whatever it is. Like, my sisters will, like, literally, my sisters can ask me for anything and I'll find a way to give it to them, just because I grew up in that environment where it felt like we didn't have enough. It felt like we lacked so much. And just emotionally, I don't think that as an older sibling, like, emotionally, like you mentioned, obviously you're an only child, so you didn't really have like other siblings to kind of feel like you have to fend over. But honestly, I feel like my siblings are my kids before I've had kids. That's how I feel. Like, I would die for my sisters.
It's a lot of weight though, Nissy.
It is, I know. But it's not to the point where it's unbearable. I feel like I was built for it. I was built to be like, I couldn't imagine, now knowing what I know, being a large child. I could not. Like, why? I just feel like older siblings, you're just built to be an older sibling. Like, is it burdensome? Yes, it is. You know, it is a burden to carry, where you always feel like you're being looked at as like the one. For example, when I was, still living at home, I basically was a second parent. So I would be doing parents' evenings. I don't do them so much now because I live quite far away from like my family and stuff. Like, where obviously my mum couldn't, and my mum was at like every parents' evening. So my mum was honestly the most phenomenal mum on the planet. But where she couldn't make some things, I was the one that was always there. I was the one that was looking after my siblings, picking them up from school, making sure that they were okay. If, for example, like my mum was ill, I was the one that picked up. I was basically like second mum in the house, especially because me and my sisters have quite big age gaps. So I've always just carried that on. I just feel like I'm like second mum, and it just is now. It's not even like I feel like a burden anymore.
It's just how you move.
It's just how I move. It just is. I don't know how to describe it, but
no.
Yeah.
It makes sense. We talked about your passion as well, in terms of you being a presenter.
Yeah.
Obviously, for want of a better word, to appease your parents.
Yeah.
Your grades up at
Yes.
to make sure that you could pursue.
Absolutely.
those are your first instances of really balancing academia
Yeah.
and passion,
Yeah, yeah,
or essentially kind of career and passion, and now you've kind of amalgamated them together. How did you find balancing the two? Because you're trying to be amazing at one thing,
Yeah.
and you're also trying to be amazing at another thing,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
both
yeah.
are realistically requiring 100% of you.
Yeah.
So how did you do that? How did you find that that being your initial starting moment of balancing the two?
Yeah, just to give like a bit of context for anyone that doesn't really know my journey or hasn't watched like my thousands of YouTube videos that I have, that all started when I was about 15 or like 15, 16, when I basically started to realize that I wanted to go into presenting. And I found a course at a local radio station that was literally around the corner from where I lived. And it was a free course that was happening at the time to support people in the area I was living in, which was Newham in East London. And it was a radio course like to produce your own show, etc. And so I was like, I want to do this. But obviously I was young, I had to ask my parents' permission. Initially, my mom said no. She was like, no, you need to focus on your academics, like what's going to happen there. And I basically like did a bit of a negotiation with her. I was like, okay, cool. This is where my negotiation tactics started from. I basically said to her, I was like, okay, cool. If I keep my grades up, because at this point, obviously, like I said, strict family. So I was like an A star student. My grades were always really, really high. I even remember one time like getting grades back and I got a couple of B's and my mom was like, not even in a really horrible way. Like she didn't like berate me, but she was just kind of like, what's that? Like type of vibe.
We're not used to that.
She was like, but I'm seeing these B's here. Like, why? She just asked me why. And I was like, well, I did try. Like, I tried my hardest kind of thing. But that was the expectation that I had, like always A star student. So I was like, Mum, if I can keep my grades high and I keep up with everything, can I still do it? How about we try it out, see how it goes, and if I drop on any level, I remember literally being in the living room talking to her and being like, if I drop on any level, I will let go of like this whole radio thing. She was like, okay, cool, let's try it. And so that's when it all started. And so I just had to learn. I had to learn to make time for both. You know, I think,
15, 16.
Yeah, 15, 16. So I was like 15 going on 16 at the time. But I just had to learn. Like I used to go in the evenings to the radio station. Like I said, it wasn't too far from where I lived. It was literally like 1 10-minute bus ride. Okay. So it wasn't too bad. Go to that radio station in the evening once a week. So it also wasn't too time consuming either. It was once a week. Later on in the afternoon after school, do the course, go home. If there was any like homework that I had to do with them, do that. But I just had to find a way to do it. And I think this is the thing, when you're passionate about something and you really want something, you will make it work. Like you will find a way, even if it seems insane, even if it means sleeping less, even if it means sacrificing what you eat, what you can buy, what you wear, you will do it. If you are deeply passionate enough about what you are doing, or if you care enough about it, you will make it happen. So I just had to make it happen. And I kept my grades up. So I kept going, managed to finish the course. By the time I was 16, started working at the radio station. It was like some tiny radio station though. It was like, there was like barely, I think there were probably like 4 listeners, 2 of which were probably like my mum and my sibling. And then the other 2 were probably like random people. It was like an online radio station.
No, but still at that time, that was massive to you.
Yeah, of course. It was huge. Yeah. It was huge at the time.
Massive starting point for you, because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on. You're not even really thinking about how many listeners. You think,
no, I'm on radio. Literally, I've got my own show. And it was in like a proper studio, so it wasn't like So I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I did think that, oh my gosh, by the time, if I'm doing this for the next like 5 years, I'm gonna be the next like UK Oprah. Obviously, that didn't happen, but you know, we're on the way. But yeah, it was massive. It was massive at the time. But yeah, thank God my mum said yes. I'm happy to do that. But I was navigating the two, but it was because I loved it and I was passionate about it. So I made it happen.
And what's important with kind of the next stage of your life is that you end up going to Cambridge, Hamilton College to be exact.
Yeah. You proper did your research. I love that. No, sorry, I love it. I love it. This is like amazing. I love it. Yeah, I did. Went to Hamilton College, at Cambridge.
Went to Hamilton College. What I've noticed is that when you get interviewed and stuff, people normally ask you, okay, how did you find that? Like, how was it going to Cambridge?
Yeah.
The question I want to ask you is, what was the biggest change you noticed about yourself after? What's your biggest regret?
Oof.
From between that time going to Cambridge?
Yeah. Those are two really big questions, but they're such good questions. My biggest change, I would actually say that my level of self-discipline went through the roof while I was at Cambridge. While I was at Cambridge, and when I finished, because Cambridge is not Cambridge like just for the sake of saying, oh yeah, we're Cambridge. No, it is. That place nearly sucked my soul out of my body, just because there is so much required of you. Now, this is where I have to say, well, I'm kind of glad that I came from the family that I came from, because there was a lot of discipline instilled in me anyway.
So you was kind of used to...
So I was kind of used to having to get things done, having the highest expectation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I came from an environment where I was always top of my class, to now coming to a place where you're with a whole bunch of people who are all top of their class. And some who came from private school, private education. There's this little black girl coming from East London where sometimes in classrooms you had to share books between like 3 or 4 people because you didn't even have enough books in the class. Coming from an environment where most people didn't really end up even going to university or didn't really think about university too much. To now going to this university where you're meeting kids like that, oh yeah, you know, I spent the holidays in a chalet on the mountain somewhere.
Chalet!
And you're looking at them and you're like, sounds nice, don't even know what that is. Let me go and Google what the flip is a chalet. Like, what the hell is that? But no, honestly, like, you're meeting all these insane people who went to private school, who like were literally trained to be in places like that. But in fact, I'll say 2 things that changed about me.
Yeah.
Not only my level of discipline, but also my confidence. Because I really had to like, it was either I lose confidence and I start to dwindle in the background. And
you feel like you shouldn't be there.
Because I feel like, because that's when imposter syndrome started kicking in, because I'm going into this place with all these people, and then obviously you are also like 0.0%.
No one looks like you.
No one looks like you. You're literally not even 1% of the population as a black woman, let alone being a woman, but just being black, full stop. So you're like the minority of the minority now, whereas you're coming from an environment, East London, so it's very multicultural, very diverse. So that is already playing on you. Like, you're going to lecture halls and you're like the only black person. You're like, okay, right, this is different. But it made me more confident. You would think that it would take away the confidence, but it made me more confident, because I was like, hold on a second. If I can be in these rooms with these people, I must have something. Like, I must actually be so dope in order for me to have ended up in somewhere like this. So I would definitely say that I became bolder and more confident because I owned that space more. Because I was like, I'm not going to allow this space to make me just that little quiet black girl that sits in the corner that no one really thinks about. I'm going to own this space, and I'm going to let people know that. And again, maybe self-imposing, but I carried the burden of, I have to represent my black people.
That heavy weight.
It was a heavy weight to carry. But I then added that onto, I'm an older sibling, I'm first child, I'm all of this other stuff that my parents already expected of me. But now I really did feel like you have to be a good representation of black people, because some of these people are probably looking at you like, what's she doing here? And nobody ever said that to me. In all honesty, I never experienced like racism while I was at Cambridge. I know that there are so many stories of people that did. Maybe it was just the way that I carried myself. Maybe it was because I gave off like an attitude of, don't play with me because I will come for you. Don't try me. Maybe it was that, I don't know. But I never experienced direct racism ever. I didn't really experience any microaggressions. I didn't really experience anything like that. Or maybe because I'm also quite chilled. So if you ask me, for example, about my hair, I'm not going to care because we are different and, you know. So that doesn't really bother me. But anyway, I didn't experience that kind of stuff, but I still felt like I need to represent black people. They need to know that black people have a voice. They need to know that black people are intelligent. They need to know that black people deserve to be in spaces like this. And so I think it helped me to really boost my confidence, and my discipline went through the roof, because Cambridge is hard, man. That place is not for the faint of hearted. Like, the level of work, and I did English literature. So it was like constant reading, constant books. I remember my first week, they gave me some fat book. Middlemarch, George Eliot. I even remember the book. Fat book like this. It had like 800 pages. First week of uni. And we had to read the whole thing that week. Write an essay on it. Oh yeah, Cambridge was hardcore. I don't know if they've changed now, because people maybe complain of too much depression. People were complaining mental health issues. But when I was there, fat book, first week, 800 pages, you had to read the whole book, do your extra additional reading as well. So secondary reading. So you had primary reading, secondary reading, do an essay on that. Then you had to do lectures. Then you had to do things called supervisions. Supervisions was when you sit in a room like this, like with just maybe yourself and your supervisor and maybe one other person, and you have to have a discussion about the book and what you've read that week. And so you've got the essay. You might have 2 essays, because then I also did, what was the name of the extra thing that I was doing? It was like critical thought, something like that. So you had to do an essay for critical thought as well. Yeah. Cambridge and that was me every single week. They didn't give you time to rest. You can rest in the holidays. And even during the holidays, you're preparing because you've got essays that you need to do for later on or books that you need to read. It was a culture shock. It was a shock to my system. The first few weeks, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I had my friend, shout out to my friend Sarah. She's still my friend till this day. Because we did the same course. And it's funny because there was 4 of us. There was me, Sarah, Sydney, Mandy. Mandy's still my best friend till this day. We go to the same church and everything. But her and Sydney did the same course. They did HSPS, Human, Social, and Political Science. Me and Sarah did English. I swear to you, without Sarah, I don't think I would have even passed first year. Like, legitimately, everything. I would always go to her and be like, girl, what were we meant to do? What was the reading? I haven't done anything. She was my saving grace. My saving grace. Because I just felt so overwhelmed. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So yeah, anyway, self-discipline and confidence went through the roof. But yeah, what was the second question?
What's your biggest regret?
Biggest regret? I don't know if I can call this a regret. I think it's something that makes me sad, more so. So when I was at uni, unfortunately, my best friend passed away, literally within like 2 weeks of me being at uni. And she passed away very suddenly. But I went into like a real like deep like depression, went into a hole. And so I wasn't going to events. I wasn't doing stuff. So I feel like my first year was just horrible. Like I put myself even deeper into my work, because that is me. I'm the type of person, I can't sit and wallow in self-pity. I just go even deeper into the thing that I'm doing. So even if I'm sad, just give me the work. I remember even my supervisor, my lecturer was like, we can give you time, like to take your time, like grieve. And I was like, no, I want to carry on as though nothing has happened. I want to keep working. And so I just kept going and going and going and going and going. But what that meant was that I didn't enjoy my first year, even into like my second year. And obviously I was only at uni for 3 years. So I felt like I spent half of it not really enjoying it. So I wouldn't say it was a regret, because obviously I was going through a lot at the time, but it was just sad. Like I look back and I was like, oh man, like I could have enjoyed uni a bit more. Because by the time you're in like second year, they're prepping you for final year. And then by the time you're in final year, you're just focused on dissertation and getting things done. So I felt like I didn't really get to enjoy my uni experience as much as I could have. So yeah.
Do you still throw yourself into work now?
Yeah.
When you feel...
Yeah.
So would you say you throw yourself into work and then kind of compartmentalize whatever that feeling is and say, okay, I am sad, but no, I'm going to do work instead.
Yeah.
So I don't deal with that. Is that what kind of...
I think it's something that I've always done. Is like my coping mechanism, even from when I was a kid. It was something that I realized when I started therapy. So I started therapy actually after I got married. So I got married in 2020 during the pandemic, and then 2022 actually, so last year, I went to therapy, and it was something that I spoke about, because I was like, I have this weird thing, like even when, like, let's say me and my husband are in conflict, because he's amazing, but hey, we're 2 human beings, and marriage is amazing, but it definitely has its challenges. And I realized, I said to her, I was like, I do this thing where even when there's conflict, like I can't, number one, I can't say anything. Like I just feel like I can't. But that, she told me, was because of how I grew up, feeling like I couldn't say anything even when I felt like things were wrong. So again, growing up in an environment where you feel like there's a dictator, so you feel like you can't say anything. Then number two, because I always didn't see conflict being resolved in the best way. So my immediate response was to just shut off. Like I just put my headphones in and I just work. And I would just work and work and work and work and work. And I realized I did that at uni as well. And I was talking about it with my therapist, and she was like, yeah, it's a coping mechanism. You just feel like as long as I can focus on that, and for me, it's a control thing, right? It's if I can control, at least, even if I can't control what's happening in my family, I can't control, the way that my husband's acting, maybe he's getting on my nerves, so I can't control him. I can at least control this one thing. I can just work and work and work and grind. And I know that this is something that I'll see the results to and I can control it. Obviously it's not great. And I had to really, really deal with that in therapy, but it was just a coping mechanism, like just work. But it's crazy because I kind of love it at the same time because I love what I do. So, and I will say as well, actually, I have to hand it to my husband because I've definitely chilled out a lot more. Because even coming into marriage, like there were a few times where he was like, all you do is bloody work. Like you just work and work. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm obsessed. But I do think though, to be a creative or to be an entrepreneur or to be a business owner,
There has to be a level of obsession.
there has to be a level of obsession. Like it just is, because being an entrepreneur, being creative, it's hard. Literally, if it was an average person doing it, you'll probably give up within a few months of doing it because it's like insane. Who the hell goes and quits their job to go and do something that they don't really know what the results are going to be? Like you have to be a little bit unhinged to do the half of the stuff that we do. So I think that you have to have a bit of that obsessive nature for something to really, really work and for it to grow. So I love that I have that because it gives me, I have a drive, like, and a work ethic that I honestly don't feel like people around me like can touch. Honestly speaking, like not trying to put anyone like down, but I just feel like I have like a drive that's like insane. But aside from that, I also recognize going into marriage that could be problematic because now it's not just about you anymore. You now have a husband who also wants time and wants your energy and wants you to make as much effort as you do into your work into them. So he's really helped me to chill out, like to just be like, do you know what? No, I'm going to chill out and I'm going to enjoy today. We're going to go out. We're going to have a spontaneous day out. We're going to live our best life. Whereas before I was like, no, I'm working.
You know what's interesting about what you just said there?
Yeah.
Is when I asked you, okay, who is Nissy Tee? And you said, you're a speaker, you speak up and you're really passionate about women and those types of things. And what you've just told me there is whenever conflict or whenever you feel something's wrong, your coping mechanism is you just shut off.
Yeah.
But what you push out, which sometimes comes out, I'm going to push past fear, I'll push past how I'm feeling, is let me tell this person, no, you can do this, this is, no, don't be in this, don't be in that. And you're telling people where they're in situations that are wrong,
yes,
you're speaking up for them.
Yeah.
But in your situation, sometimes you feel like,
I would say, really, really interesting. But I would say that, again, that's why I went to therapy, because I knew that wasn't right. Because I was like, how is it that, and literally it was that case, it was like, how is it that I'm telling people, like, communicate, be open, share. I don't necessarily talk about relationships per se. My thing is more about like personal development and yourself.
You're trying to boost
people up, right? Whereas this was obviously now in my marriage and in our relationship, but it's two of the same thing, really and truly. It's still about being able to speak up and to stand up for your point. And that's why I went to therapy, because I was like, how is it that I can go in front of audiences of hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, and I can speak and I can be bold? I honestly thought, and I say it all the time, I laugh sometimes when I'm talking to my ladies, for example, in the power class program that I do. I'm very honest with them, and I've told the story many a times of why I started therapy. But I literally I said to them, I went into marriage thinking I was the greatest communicator. I went into marriage thinking, yeah, girl, you've got this on lock. You are open. You can share. You are a phenomenal communicator. Only for me to get into marriage, and then when there's conflict, I'm like, yeah. And the words just weren't coming out. That's why I started therapy. Because I was like, nah, man, this ain't normal. How is it that I can go on stages and talk in front of hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people? I can go on YouTube and be so passionate and do what I want to do. But then in my own home, when I'm trying to have a conversation with my husband, I'm finding it difficult. Why? And but this is how you know, like, this is why it's so important, your childhood. And it's important. I am a big believer in counseling, therapy, yes, prayer, yes, deliverance, all of that stuff. But I'm a big believer in counseling, therapy, because they are trained psychiatrists, psychologists, people who are trained in understanding the mind and the brain. Because there are things from my childhood that I didn't even realize were still affecting me. Again, like I said, when I started doing therapy, I started realizing, because of the way that I grew up and the way that I saw conflict, and conflict wasn't resolved in the best way, and the way that I saw like my parents speaking to each other was very like toxic, and there were things that I then, internalized. And so that's why it's not allowing me. So that's why in this area, I'm great at communicating, but in this area, I'm struggling. And that's why it's important for me to be honest as well. Like I told people when I was going to therapy, shared my journey on my socials, and people could really resonate. And I was sharing it with people, so people knew that, please, just because I talk the way that I talk doesn't mean that I'm perfect. I've heard someone say this recently, and I love this saying: you can be a beautiful work of art, but also be a work in progress at the same time. And that's where I feel like I am. And that's where I feel like we all are. I am a beautiful work of art. I have a lot to say. I'm very bold, very confident, but I'm also a work in progress. There is always room for improvement. And if you ever get to a point where you feel like there isn't room for improvement, I don't know. You should, at that point, I feel like I should be dead. That's the only time we should stop improving. There is always room to learn. There is always room to grow. And that's my aim, to always evolve, so.
Is that part of the reason why you started the Power Class? To your own personal journey, and also seeing those the ladies and women around you or in different spaces and thinking, okay, I want to empower these women. Is that partly why you started it, or is there another reason to why you ended up starting the Power Class?
I mainly started it because women were pissing me off. Let me be honest. Let me be so honest with you. Women were getting on my last damn nerve, and I'll tell you why. I would go to these events, right? Because basically did YouTube, off of the back of YouTube, started getting invited to come and speak at events. Then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm being invited. Then people were asking me, oh, so what's your price? Put a price tag to it. Now I'm getting paid to do workshops and speak and panel events and whatever it is, panel discussions, etc. I'm going to these events now and I'm meeting all these amazing women. I'll come off stage and I love talking to people. So I'll be talking to women and women will be like, oh my gosh, like you've inspired me so much. I want to do X, Y, and Z. This is what I'm planning to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, brilliant. So when are you going to get started? What's going to happen next? And they're always like, no, well, I can't say always, but majority of the women that I was talking to, they would just give excuses. That's what I call them, excuses. Oh no, but I'm too scared. What will people say? People might judge me. What if I don't get it right? What if I fail? All of these things as to why they shouldn't do all the amazing things that they should do. And the more and more I heard it, and I started to realize it was a trend. Whereas I'll sit with guys don't have that problem. Guys would be like, yo, I want to try something. I'm going to see how it happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Those are the conversation I'm having with the man them. You talk to the ladies now, and all the ladies are like, oh no, but what if people, what if this, what if that? It was always a question of, what if I get it wrong? What will happen? Whereas I found that men were just built different. And obviously I know that it's not all men, but a lot of the men that were in the creative spaces that I was in, and again, when I first started, like I said before, I started in radio. So when I then started doing interviews, a lot of it was music focused. So in the beginning, it was like a lot of music artists, a lot of rappers. So I was around a lot of men all the time. Like I was always around guys, and guys just gave off this energy. Like even if they were pretending, I don't know, maybe behind closed doors. Like now, especially, we've had a lot of more men sharing like their experiences with mental health and social anxiety and stuff like that, but at least what they were giving off was like confidence,
fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Like even if maybe some were faking it and maybe others weren't, but ultimately the men that I was around, they were just the vibes and the energy. Like they owned the stage. They didn't worry about, oh, what's this person going to say about me, what's that person going to say about me. I'm just going to do me, whether it be that it was going into business. They were just so bold with it. Whereas then when I'm talking to the ladies, it just felt like we were shooting ourselves in the foot. And I was like, wait, but no offense. I felt like half the time I'm talking to these women, they were way more qualified. They had way more skills. They were way more articulate. They knew how to hold their own in conversation. And I was like, if only you knew how powerful you really, really are. And then off of the back of that, just thinking about like, how can I empower women? Then off of the back of that, I remember during that period reading a scripture, one of my favorite scriptures in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, which says, for I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of peace, power, and a sound mind. Other versions say self-discipline, but a sound mind, peace, and power. When I saw that word power, it stood out to me. I was like, wait a second, this is the same Bible that all of us read. So why is it that I know that I'm powerful, but half of these women don't? And so that's when I just knew like I wanted to create it, and that's where the Power Class came from. So I literally was like, I'm going to empower women. Women are going to recognize and realize that they are amazing, that they're capable, that they can do anything they want to do at a high level and to a high quality as well. you know? So yeah, it was a combination of those things, but it was definitely because just women were getting on my nerves. So much potential, but just no, like, I don't know what that was about, but yeah, I couldn't relate to that. I just felt like, just go and do it. Try it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So what? You're not going to die. Like, you know.
Sometimes it's a case of, not even just with women, because there are some men as well.
Of course,
Sometimes it's a case of they just need that one person or that second person just say, no, I can do it.
Yeah.
And what I notice with a lot of men is, if you've got your boys around you, a lot of the times your boys will be like, yeah, okay, cool, let's run that.
Yeah.
We're quite chill.
Yeah.
We don't really, not that we don't really think it through, because we do.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. That's it.
Whereas I've noticed, and some women will be like, okay, I need to get this right.
Yeah.
Okay, if this doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
But see, this is the thing, because we're built different though. And this is one thing. I'm not trying to be like men. I'm not this person that like is trying to power struggle and struggle to be like men.
Yeah.
I'm not about that. Men and women are very different.
100%.
We are built different, and that is okay, right? I feel like we should embrace that more. But what that does mean is that the way that we process things are also different. We are a lot more emotional, whether we like it or not. We have hormones. Like I was talking to you earlier about, every single time when it's that time of the month, I feel sorry for my husband because I am emotional. It just is. We're just built different. So we do tend to think about things in more detail. Whereas a man will kind of be like, I'm going from A to Z. Now we're thinking, okay, how do I get from A to B, B to C, C to D? All right, if I navigate this way, we just process things. Again, I know that there are going to be, differences between people. But for the most part, I truly do, just from the men that I've spoken to, I've met in my family, just analyzing and having conversations, we are. Like you just said now yourself, you guys will be like, oh, I've got this idea. Cool, let's do it. And you guys just figure it out as you go along. Whereas women, we're more kind of reserved and like, oh no, but I need time. Will it work? Will it not?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? But I feel like it's also powerful because you need a bit of both. And that's why it's so necessary for men and women to come together, whether it be marriage or even just platonic relationships. But we complement each other, because as the man, you're like, again, you're running 5 miles ahead, 50, miles ahead. And the woman is kind of like, nah, we need to take steps and think about it. It's like me and my husband. My husband would be like, let's just get people over tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, but babe, I've got a couple of meetings. You've got stuff to do. Let's plan. He doesn't really like plan. He's more like spontaneous and all that stuff. I'm a bit more of a planner. But yeah, we're just different. Yeah. We are.
With the success that you've achieved and what you want to achieve comes more responsibility.
Absolutely.
So what or where do you get peace in your pursuit of greater?
That is such a good question. I get peace, honestly, I think through my husband, Obviously, God being number one, being primary always. But like I kind of mentioned before, I was always so work focused, like honestly a workaholic. Like I spent about 99% of my time just on work, just because I also recognize that you go through seasons where you have to sacrifice. And I just felt like that was a season I was in. But my husband has just given me this real sense of grounding and this real sense of understanding that, yes, aspire for more, but enjoy the present because life is short. And you would think that I would have known that when my best friend passed away when we were like 18. But again, maybe because of just how I've been built, I went the opposite direction. Work more. Whereas he is very much like, tomorrow is not promised. Enjoy this moment, enjoy today. And that has given me a lot of peace, knowing that I'm walking on this journey with somebody who is willing to just be like, no, we're not working today. Today's not a working day. Today we're just taking it to go out, go to the beach or chill or whatever it is. And he's given me a lot of perspective, because before I was so just like narrow focused, and now I have perspective. So that definitely gives me like peace, just knowing that you can do both. You can be a go-getter, be a hustler, grind, work, be on job, but you can also enjoy the fruits right now, And I think I'm at that place now as well, just in terms of like, I'm not as like successful or whatever. I'm nowhere near. I haven't even scratched the surface. You guys ain't even ready. All I can say is nobody is ready for me. Because when I'm really, really, really doing it.
You're not successful.
No, I would say I am successful. No, I am successful.
Thank you.
I'm just not.
What? I'm not successful.
No. No. I said that wrong.
Okay.
Let me rephrase.
We'll give you space.
I'm not as successful as what I know God has in store for me.
Okay, that's perfect.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When God has shown you certain things.
Yeah, when you see the vision.
You see the vision and you're like,
Oh, you get a little bit scared though. I'll be honest. I've seen the vision.
I'm frustrated.
No, I'm a bit scared, but I'm a bit.
Why?
No, hold on. I'm gonna explain.
Tell me.
I'm a little bit scared because I'm like, it feels so far away. But I'm like, I know if I carry on working, I'm gonna get there. But I don't know. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 2 years' time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where it's like,
No, that's true.
I gotta be prepared that.
Yeah.
Times for this thing to.
Yeah. Do you know what I think scares me about like quote unquote success? I'm not scared of success. I think I am just. So for me, it's mainly the conversation around children.
Okay.
That's my biggest like. God has worked through it though. We're in a different place. For me to even speak about and say that I want to have kids like soon, because I really want to have babies now. Yeah. I really want to have some kids now. I really want to have them. But like, if you asked me a year ago,
You're not in that space.
I would have been like, no. But it wasn't because I didn't want kids. It was because I was scared. I was scared that I would be so in my work that my kids would grow up feeling like my mum wasn't around. And I had the opposite. My mum was always there. Every play that I did, everything that I ever did. I used to be in the choir once upon a time when I was younger as well. But my mum was at every show, everything. And there's nothing like that feeling of knowing that your parents are there. And I was like, what if I end up being the parent that like just doesn't show up for their kid? Or that is like, I'm sorry, baby, but I've got to go to work, or I've got a meeting, or I've got, that worried me. But I'm definitely, so it's not even the success part, it's can I raise a family, a really healthy, happy family while I'm doing everything else that I'm doing? That was always my...
At the end of the day, you dictate how your family gets raised. You dictate how much time you spend on business.
Yeah.
You've become a success enough where you're in a position where you can manage certain things, and there's going to be more that comes with your more success. And I think that's where there's the fear.
weight and responsibility become bigger.
But you've been used to that. You've been going through that from when you were younger.
Yeah.
When you went to Cambridge, you had the same thing, but even more. You just kind of picked up this, this weight's on my shoulders, this weight's on my shoulders.
Stronger.
And that's all that's happened. So I feel like when you get to that stage where you have children and you're still working, all that will be is, it's something else that I put on in terms of weight. The only thing I would say, potentially, is that there's going to be some weight that you're going to have to shed.
Yeah. I hear that.
To then be able to, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which we spoke about earlier.
Yeah. We spoke about that, but that's the only thing I would say. Yeah.
With all that you do in life, how important is your support system around you?
Oh, so important. Oh, my support system is everything.
And what is something that they've given you that people don't see?
Oh gosh, something that they've given me that people don't see.
And it doesn't have to be a tangible thing.
Okay. Joy. My support system between my husband, my cousins, like I mentioned to you earlier, like I have a really big family. So, and I'm actually close to a lot of them, well, some of them. But my family, like even today, I just as I was driving here, I had to ask for a favor from my cousin to come and stay with us for a little bit because I have my speaking engagement, and anyway, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And she was like, yeah, of course. Like legit, no questions, but I need to see. Yeah, cool. What do you need? That's my family. They have given me so much joy and so much just support. And I know that it's not something that everybody has, and that really does break my heart because I don't know what I would do without my like, I remember there were times where, now obviously we live a little bit further away from each other, but there would just be days where I'll just be going through it. Like I'm having a really bad day. I'm emotional. I'm crying. I'll just pull up at my cousin's house. And at that time as well, my other cousin as well, this was prior to us being married, because now my other cousin's married, the older ones, everyone's like now starting their own families and stuff like that. But when we were a bit younger, my other cousin wasn't married either. Literally, we all pulled up at my other cousin's house and we just all pulled up. We had a good cry, watched a good movie together. And then by the end of it, we are howling, like we're just laughing. My support system give me so much joy, whether that even be my in-laws. Again, such a blessing. A lot of people don't get on with their in-laws. My extended family, I don't even call them like my in-laws. They're like my family in love. Like I call them my family, not in-law, in love. They are phenomenal. My mother-in-law is like a gem. Like, she is just, I just love her. Like, she came to our house not too long ago just because she was like, oh, I've got some time off work. I'm just going to come. I'm going to cook for you guys and just, like, look after you guys. I was like, what the hell? This isn't normal. Like, other people don't have that. Like, she legit just spent that whole week. She cooked. She cleaned the house. She, like, just is so selfless. But then again, that's why I go so hard as well. Because I'm like, these people in my life, I want to give them everything. I want to be able to wake up. If my mother-in-law and my mum are like, oh, we want to go to Dubai for the week. No problem. Throw them the money. Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, money makes the world go round. Money is the world's currency. Money gives you choices, freedom, opportunities. People can go high, left, right. Money is what you need. Like, I'm so sorry, but it really, really is, right? Okay, yes, it's not the be-all, end-all. Absolutely not. But it gives you choices. Like, even now, the fact that I'm able to come here on a Friday is because I work for myself. I have a team now. I'm able to delegate. But again, how am I able to pay my team? Because I'm making money through my businesses, right? So I want to be able to just, I go really, really hard for my support system because they've done so much for me. My mum, I want to give her the world. I want her, I've always said that before she dies, I have to buy her a home where she can move into and know that this is hers. She doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to do nothing. And I've always said that she must. I feel like that's why God has preserved her life for so long. She must see her house, that she's going to walk into her own house and be like, Mum, this is yours. But that's why I go so hard. Because my support system have been phenomenal, freaking phenomenal. So, yeah.
My last question to you today. It's been a great conversation with you.
Yeah, I don't want it to end. This has been so good. One of my favorite interviews, honestly.
Because as tends what to happen, when I ask questions, people answer the questions I've got down here. So it's like, I don't need to ask that one. Because you've already kind of answered it. And there's some questions where it's like, it doesn't really flow with the conversation. It's just kind of flow. But my last question to you is, with where you're at in life right now, what advice would you give to yourself?
As in my current self or my younger self?
With where you're at in life right now, what advice would you give to yourself? So right now.
Right now?
So you seeing yourself in the current position and current life status, what advice would you give to yourself right now?
You know what's crazy? You're going to think that I'm mad, but I would say don't slow down. I know that sounds, you're going to think I'm crazy. But honestly, I feel like people don't see it. And you were like, even when, you know, we sat down, you were like, you're doing so much. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Like, I don't feel like, again, maybe it's just the go-getter in me. It's like the always drive to like do more. But I feel like I have slowed down. It was just because of the pandemic. So I had to slow down by force, which was actually quite nice because it gave me time to like just really like sit in what I'm doing and sit in myself and get to know myself a bit better. But since the pandemic has been over or whatever, I feel like it's like time to pick up the momentum again, more so with my personal brand. I think I spent the last few years working on, for example, NT Media, building that. But I feel like the season that I'm in now, it's like pick up the pace again in terms of your personal brand and getting things out there, YouTube, content, showing up some more, reconnecting with my community, whether it be online or even our private communities with the Power Class and stuff like that. Make sure you DM me if you want to become part of the Power Class, by the way, let me know. I feel like, I would literally tell myself, like, don't slow down now. Because I feel like I have also been in a place where, because life is quite good, like in this point in time, and I am successful, it's really easy for you to take your foot off the gas a little bit and start to like relax a bit because you're kind of like, oh, rah, like making money, living my life. Last year, me and my husband literally traveled for pretty much the whole year. We traveled every single month for about 8 months of the year. We were living our best life. We've been living our best life. There's kind of like this thing of like, oh, let me... So that's why I say like I actually feel like I've slowed down because last year I spent half of it traveling. I've been enjoying myself, not really necessarily doing as much as I used to do. So I would just say like to myself like, nah, Nissy, this is the I feel like this is like the next push just to get me over the other side, like financially, business-wise, to just grow. I feel like I've hit a bit of like a stagnant place. It's time to like go to the next level now. So you probably think I'm mad, but...
I don't think you're mad because I know for you there's stuff that you still need to do.
Yeah,
so absolutely. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Nissy, thank you very much.
No, thank you. This was honestly one of my absolute favorite interviews. Had so much fun, such a good conversation. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Conversation with Haych with the amazing Nissy Tee, and we'll have more content coming for you very, very soon.